Hey nerds, I will review my top 5 moments and honorable mentions from the 12th episode of the Pitt Season 2, starting now. Welcome back to the Nerd Social. I am Colin. Before we start, chapter times are below if you want to skip ahead, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, please check out our website, thenerdsocial.org, for more reviews and analysis from our contributors. So, episode 12 is titled 6 p.m. It is written by Danny Hogan and R. Gemmill, and it is directed by Amanda Marsalis. Spoiler-free logline of this episode is after she steps up to defend her trainee, Dana clashes with Robby about her methods and his upcoming sabbatical. So this 12th episode quickly resolved the cliffhanger from last week, and there wasn't a plot twist as I mistakenly predicted. It was an obvious one, which we'll get to in the spoiler portion of this review. However, a new cliffhanger emerges with a patient that arrived and left hours ago. Meanwhile, that line outside the ER has not moved at all because it's one emergency after another except when ICE showed up. There's definitely a feeling of a wind down as the night shift people start trickling into the ER and that the computer systems are coming back online. It will be interesting to see if there are some resolutions to some of the storylines, like the abandoned baby or Nurse Jessie's arrest by ICE, will be resolved as we get to the end of the season with now only 3 episodes left. In terms of rating, I would give this 12th episode a 10 out of 10, which is a theater rental. Even though there is a sense of wind down, the pace at which the doctors and nurses work does not stop. The mental and emotional toll of this day is really sinking in, and you understand why a few of them resort to self-harm in the case of Santos and prescription drugs like Langdon did in season 1 to relieve themselves. It's a lot to bear, and you feel it with every patient and see it in the faces of Dr. Robby and Nurse Dana. As I review my top 5 and honorable mention moments, there are spoilers ahead for the Pitt Season 2, Episode 12, so get ready for those right now. So my honorable mention number 2 is Monica the clerk, who's been in several episodes now because they were going analog and they needed someone with old school experience to handle all the paperwork that's coming in. So there was an interesting exchange between her and Dr. Javadi where Monica calls out millennials and Gen Z. Even though I am a geriatric millennial, I found this exchange to be very funny and true. It's very typical of the older generation saying or thinking you have no idea what my generation has been through, and you think you know everything about the world, but you don't. When the crap hits the fan, experienced hands do matter, and that's what they're trying to relay here during this exchange between the two. My honorable mention number 1 is when Whitaker confronts Santos about moving out. Whitaker then realizes that Santos actually likes having him as a roommate. She never admitted it verbally as she dismisses this claim, and she quickly avoids the conversation to go back to work. However, the audience and Whitaker can tell she wants him to stay, even though she gives him so much grief and calls him Huckleberry. So going into my number 5 moment is the patient that choked Nurse Emma. Turns out that he had cocaine in his system, and like an entitled spoiled brat, he lashed out at the hospital that he will face serious consequences for assaulting Nurse Emma and having drugs in his system. At least in the world of the Pitt, there are consequences for bro behavior like that. My number 4 moment is Mohan and Mel treats an elderly couple. The elderly man is portrayed by Dan Florek, who is Captain Donald Cragen from Law & Order SVU. This storyline really hits home to those families who have grown children and have children of their own while taking care of their elderly parents. There's a fine line that is established between autonomy and outside help from the elderly, and what is the best option for both. So I definitely feel this in my personal experience right now, but Mohan was able to find out that the prescriptions that he is taking is causing more of his health problems, and hopefully there is a plan in place where the daughter and also the elderly couple can have some type of outside help, along with the fact that he has some autonomy given back by not taking a lot of that medication that's making him having these health issues. Now, in the previous episode, Dr. Al-Hashimi suggested that Mohan move to geriatrics, and now Robby says so as well. So maybe with her uncertain career path, this is something that Mohan will pursue, because she definitely has a knack for dealing with elderly patients. My number 3 moment is Nurse Dana saving Nurse Emma. We were anticipating what would happen to Nurse Emma after she was placed in a chokehold by a patient at the end of the previous episode. We never saw what actually happens, but Nurse Dana was able to sedate the patient and get Emma out of the situation. I think there was a punch that was thrown. That's why the patient was all bloodied. Nurse Emma ended up being okay, but the repercussions of this encounter hung throughout this episode as Robby and Dana had a heated discussion about each other's vulnerabilities. Seems as though Emma was okay, but she probably have to put out a statement to the police, and also the fact that Dana asked her to go home, but she said that she was unwilling to do that. She's not a quitter in that way, so it talks about the resilience that she definitely has. We all know that Nurse Dana is a badass because she acted in a way that protected Nurse Emma. She sees herself as a mother hen to her, but who knows what type of consequences will transpire because of what she did. My number 2 is Orlando returns. So after leaving the ER too early because he needs to get back to work to provide for his family, he returns again on a gurney and unconscious. And that's where the episode left off. He has been the symbol of how a person with no health insurance has to suffer and rely on an emergency room for his health care. When some folks online, and maybe some of them are bots, complain to leave politics out of the show, this issue of having no health insurance is reality, and it is also political. Obamacare is now 16 years old, and we have seen that there are still gaps in coverage for Americans, especially if they don't have employer-based health insurance. Some can blame immigration, but that is a scapegoat argument and doesn't address the larger issue of coverage for all people living in the United States. When 17 million people lost their Medicaid this past year, there is a problem with our country's political priorities. And my number 1 moment is Robby's shift is at an end. It seems like his friend Duke is going to get his CT scan, and he insists that he will be okay without Robby. So what does Robby do now? Dr. Joy Kwan pointed out that she is leaving when the shift is over no matter what, and she did it without any regrets. Nurse Princess left as well. As the night shift quickly approaches, will Robby keep pushing his sabbatical off? Does he feel that he can leave everything in good hands? He doubts that right now. And we see in the preview of episode 13 that he doubts Dr. Al-Hashimi can take over what he's doing. My wife and I actually paused and discussed this point. We agreed that individual doctors and nurses do make a difference in the lives of their patients. We have seen it throughout the series, but the ER will continue to function no matter who is there. It doesn't stop because one person is not there for a period of time. So those are my top 5 and honorable mention moments from the Pitt season 2 episode 12. Tell us what your favorite moments were from this episode by commenting down below. Like, share, and subscribe for more content like this, and we will see you in the next video. All right, take care, everybody.